Hey YouTube, welcome back. Today we're going to continue with the 10-week fat loss series. I'm going to walk you through week 6. So a little recap of last week's video. I had to make some adjustments moving forward because I wasn't getting the rate of loss that I was after. So this week we're going to look at what that response was from those adjustments, and then we're going to walk through how the situation currently is and if any changes are needed moving forward. I'm also going to walk through two particularly important aspects of fat loss, and in particular for my current fat loss phase. Don't forget, if you do enjoy the video, please do drop a like. If you have any questions, throw them down below. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. Okay, so just quickly recap. We made some adjustments to intake and expenditure to try and bump up the rate of loss, because last week we got just over one pound rate of loss. We needed to bump that up to 2. So what we did is we dropped food down to 1,450, and we added one cardio session, equating to roughly 150 calories. Therefore, increasing the deficit by 250 calories to try and bump up that rate of loss by, let's say, half a pound. What we found with these adjustments was that this week we actually dropped just over 2 pounds. So this week we dropped just over 2 pounds, which has meant that the adjustments we've made have been very successful, which is great. Again, this just pinpoints the importance of having data, data of the results that we're looking for, data of the factors that we have control over, because without this data, we wouldn't have been able to make these adjustments to then get the outcome that we're after. Okay, so now we've made a few adjustments, and given the fact that we're now quite a difference away from where we started, given we started on like 2,800 calories, we started on, I think it was 8,000 steps, maybe 10,000, and we started with no cardio session. So we've made a few adjustments. It's important to go back through this checklist to make sure that we're still, functioning well and feeling good, right? We'll come to training last, because training is what I want to speak about in this video in particular. Energy's still decent. Sleep still decent. The only times I've noticed any issues with sleep was when, I haven't been accountable with making sure that my sleep routine is absolutely on point. Mood still good, and then hunger again still absolutely fine. So as a whole, things are still looking very, very good. The only potential question mark we've got is with training. Now with training, I've spoken about it in other videos. The bigger movements have looked at stalling and maybe even regressing a rep or two. This week, and a little bit last week, I've noticed more that those bigger movements again are actually struggling a lot more, and I've had to actually pull back just a very small percentage of the weight that I'm shifting. Now, other movements, let's say the movements that aren't as big, the ones that I'm not shifting as much weight, they're actually fine, and some of them are still progressing. The reason why, we've got to be careful with looking at training and look at the numbers in the gym and how we're moving through it while in the deficit is that if things are regressing, it might show signs that we could potentially be losing muscle mass, okay? Now, I would only be concerned if that was happening across the board with movements, which it isn't. It's only on those bigger movements. And that's probably going to be down to the fact that, one, when you drop body fat and you get a little bit leaner, you're going to lose a little bit of stability in some movements. 2, there's less food, less energy, and therefore your performance is likely going to take a hit at some point. So there's a question mark over training just because I have to keep an eye on, from now on how training's feeling. And if it continues to regress, then it's something that we potentially need to look at. Right now, I'm not too concerned about it, but we've just got to be looking out for these things. Okay, and the last thing I want to speak about in this video is, first and foremost, how it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this for, you will still make mistakes, okay? So if you are going through your own fat loss phase and you make a mistake, don't stress about it, learn from it, keep going, move forward in a positive manner, right? I potentially have made a mistake in this fat loss phase, okay? Now that mistake I potentially made is underestimating the amount of weight that I need to lose. I put WL, being lazy. But I potentially underestimated the amount of weight I need to lose. I went in for 10 weeks and to lose roughly 20 pounds, like £2 a week loss. Now, last week was the halfway point, and looking at the pictures from the halfway point, I potentially thought to myself that, okay, maybe I'm going to need to lose more than £20, right? Now, if that's the case, that's the case, and I have to continue the Fat Loss phase for a little bit longer. It might mean, well, it would mean, if that was the case, that this series might go on for a little bit longer, but we'll have to see. As we do start to get leaner and leaner, the visual changes we'll see will probably be a little bit more and more, probably notice a little bit more differences. So it could also be that factor that from now on, here on out, the visual changes do become a little bit more apparent, and maybe we're actually bang on with the amount of weight that we need to lose. However, the question mark is, am I going to need to continue a little bit longer and lose a little bit more weight than I first anticipated? Okay. And again, you know, especially if you're not very new to doing this, right? I've been doing this for years, and I've still potentially made a mistake in estimating how much you need to lose. So even if you're not new to this, bear in mind and understand that this could potentially be another issue that you might encounter, right? You might think, I want to lose £20, like in my case, and I'm going to look how I want to look. Then you get £20 and you realise you actually need to lose a little bit more. Okay, so just bear that in mind as well. It's always a good idea to maybe, you know, have a target in terms of weeks for your goal, but then also in the back of your head, leave a little bit of room spare. Okay, that was just something that I wanted to cover because, you know, it's common, it happens, and then we learn from it and we move on. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you do have any questions, please do throw them down below. If you did enjoy it and found it helpful, please drop a like. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.